Hey everyone. Ever wish there was like a simple path to wealth?
Hmm.
Well, that's what we're diving into today with J.L. Collins' book, The Simple Path to Wealth,
Okay.
and how it might help you achieve, financial freedom.
Right.
Now, everyone's seen a zillion personal finance books out there, right?
Right.
But what really stood out to me about this one was its focus on long-term sustainability,
Yeah.
not those get-rich-quick schemes,
Right. Yeah.
And plus, it's written in such a down-to-earth way, almost like Collins is just giving advice to a friend,
Yeah. Yeah.
which actually is exactly how this book started.
Oh, really?
It was a series of letters from Collins to his daughter,
Interesting.
and knowing that backstory just made it even more relatable to me.
Yeah.
But before we get into the nuts and bolts, I want to bring in our expert here to give us some context because
Okay.
this book has become like crazy popular.
It really has.
What is it about Collins's approach that really resonates with people?
I think a lot of readers they find Collins so appealing because he
Yeah.
takes all of these like complex financial concepts
Mm.
and makes them feel really accessible.
Yeah.
He cuts through the noise and presents this clear path to building wealth without needing to rely on risky bets
Right.
or complicated strategies.
Yeah.
And I think there's a real sense of relief in that for people.
Yeah. It's like he's giving you permission to ditch the jargon and just
Yeah,
focus on the fundamentals.
absolutely.
And speaking of fundamentals, I know he emphasizes a few core principles.
He does.
What are some of the key takeaways you walked away with?
Well, one of the very first things that Collins addresses is the importance of understanding and managing debt,
Okay.
specifically like the weight of high interest debt.
Mm-hmm.
He really drives home the point that
Mm-hmm.
when you're in debt,
Yeah.
your money is working against you, not for you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's a powerful image. It's like trying to run a race with a heavyweight,
Right.
like dragging you down,
Exactly.
You might still make progress,
You might.
but it's going to take a lot more effort and a
Yeah,
lot more time to reach that finish line.
absolutely. And that's where his second pillar comes in,
Mm.
saving and investing.
Okay.
And it's not even just about, earning more money. It's about keeping more of what you earn
Right.
and putting it to work for you.
So, step 1, tackle that debt.
Yes.
Step 2, get serious about saving.
Yes.
And then comes the investing part, which honestly is where a lot of people, myself included,
Right.
can feel like intimidated, overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But Collins makes a point of simplifying that whole process, right?
He does, yeah. And I think that's one of the most appealing aspects of his whole approach.
Okay.
He introduces this idea of financial independence,
Okay.
which when you hear it might sound like this lofty, unattainable
Right.
goal,
Right.
but he breaks it down in a
Yeah.
way that makes it feel achievable for everyday people.
Okay, so how does he do that?
Mm,
How does he take this big, potentially scary concept, this financial independence,
right.
and make it feel relatable?
Well, he starts by just redefining what financial independence actually means.
Okay.
It's not necessarily about becoming crazy wealthy.
Right.
It's about having the freedom to make choices in your life without being constantly stressed or limited by money.
Yeah, I love that. It's about aligning your finances with your values and your vision for your life.
Exactly.
So for our listeners out there, think about what really matters to you.
Hmm.
What kind of freedom and flexibility do you crave?
Yeah. Imagine like being able to pursue a passion project,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't bring in a huge income,
Right.
or having the flexibility to just take time off to travel
Yeah.
or spend time with loved ones
Mm-hmm.
without worrying about your bank account.
Yeah.
Like that's the power of financial independence.
And that right there is what elevates this book beyond just like a basic personal finance manual.
Mm.
It's about shifting your mindset from like, I need to make a living
Right.
to how can I make my money work for me to
Yeah.
live the life that I want?
Exactly. And a big part of that shift, according to Collins, is understanding the power of index fund investing.
Index funds were like a total game changer for me because before reading The Simple Path to Wealth,
Right.
I thought, investing was all about picking that hot stock or
Right.
trying to time the market perfectly.
Hmm.
But Collins, he presents a really compelling argument for index funds
He does.
as like the foundation of a really solid investment strategy.
Yeah, what's so brilliant about it is that it takes the emotion and the guesswork out of investing.
Okay.
He advocates for this long-term
Right.
passive approach, and index funds just align perfectly with that whole philosophy.
Okay, so instead of trying to like outsmart Wall Street, it's more about
It's about capturing the steady growth of the entire market
okay.
rather than, chasing after those individual winners and losers,
Right.
which could be honestly super unpredictable and stressful.
Yeah, for sure.
No doubt.
That makes a lot of sense. It's
Yeah.
like instead of putting all your eggs in one basket and hoping for the best, you're diversifying your investments like across the entire market.
Exactly. And Collins is a huge proponent of low-cost index funds,
Right.
particularly those that track the S&P 500
Mm-hmm.
or the total stock market.
Mm.
They give you that broad market exposure,
Yeah.
those incredibly low fees.
Right.
And historically, they have a really strong track record of generating those solid returns over long haul.
Yeah, that long-term perspective is key here, right? It's about that consistent growth, not
Yeah.
trying to get rich quick.
Right.
But even with, something as seemingly straightforward as index funds are there ever situations where this approach might not be the best fit?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's important to remember that no single investment strategy is like a magic bullet,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
It really depends on your individual circumstances and goals and risk tolerance. Yeah.
Totally. So what are some of those situations where someone might want to explore like alternatives?
Well, someone with a very low risk tolerance, for
Okay.
example, might they might find the ups and downs of the stock market a little too nerve-wracking, even
Yeah.
with a diversified index fund.
Okay.
Or someone with a very short time horizon for their investments.
Mm-hmm.
They might not have the luxury of riding out market fluctuations.
That's a good point. It's not about blindly following one approach,
Right.
but rather like understanding the tools that are available and,
Mhm.
and when each one makes the most sense for you.
Right. And Collins, he emphasizes that.
Okay.
He even provides like specific recommendations for index funds that cater to different, risk appetites and investment timelines.
So he gives you the framework, but also empowers you to tailor it
Exactly.
to your own needs.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks here. How do we actually put all of this into action? Because
Okay.
for me, I think that's always been the biggest hurdle. It's
Mhm.
one thing to like grasp the concepts,
Right.
but how do I translate that into like real life steps?
Right. And Collins he's really great at providing those practical examples.
Okay.
And one of the most illustrative is his breakdown of building a simple yet effective investment portfolio.
Okay.
He's a huge fan of the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund,
Okay.
often just called VTSAX.
VTSAX, got it.
Yeah.
Now, for those of us who don't speak fluent stock market, what does that even mean?
Sure.
Can you like break it down?
Yeah, think of VTSAX like buying a tiny piece of every publicly traded company in America.
Okay.
It's like one single investment that gives you exposure to the entire U.S. stock market,
Okay.
which helps minimize risk and keeps things nice and simple.
Ah, okay. I see. So instead of trying to like research and choose individual stocks,
Right.
you're basically investing in the overall performance of the US economy.
Exactly.
It's like a one-stop shop for your investment portfolio.
Precisely. And the best part,
Yeah.
you don't need to be a financial guru to get started.
Right.
You can open an account with Vanguard
Mm.
or any other brokerage that offers these low-cost index funds
Okay.
and start investing with, honestly, a surprisingly small amount of money.
That's encouraging to hear because I think sometimes people get intimidated thinking you need like a ton of money or insider knowledge to even get in the game.
Yeah.
But Collins really emphasizes that it can be so much more approachable than that.
It really can be. And he also tackles a question that's probably on a lot of people's minds when it comes to investing. And that's, how much do I actually need to retire comfortably?
Right. Yeah.
And that's where his famous 4% rule comes in.
Okay, the 4% rule, that sounds deceptively simple.
It is.
Can you walk us through it?
Yeah, so basically it suggests that you can safely withdraw 4% of your investment portfolio
Okay.
each year to cover your living expenses during retirement
Mm-hmm.
without the risk of running out of money.
Okay, so let's say, like hypothetically speaking, my annual expenses are around like $40,000.
Okay.
To maintain that lifestyle in retirement, I'd need a portfolio
Mm.
of, let me do some quick math here, $1 million.
Right.
Okay, that might sound like a lot at first glance,
It's a
but
shrim.
oh,
But remember, this is a long-term game.
right.
The beauty of the 4% rule is that it gives you a concrete target to work towards.
Okay.
It helps you shift your perspective from retirement feels so far off, I'll never be able to save enough,
Right.
to okay, here's my magic number, let's make a plan to get there.
It breaks down this seemingly impossible goal
Right.
into like smaller, more manageable milestones.
Exactly.
But before you even get to that investing stage,
Hmm.
Collins is really adamant about tackling debt.
Yeah.
He
Especially that high interest debt we were talking about earlier.
absolutely, and he's got some interesting strategies for that too.
So he's all about like tackling that debt head on.
He is, yeah.
What are some of the strategies that he recommends?
One that he's a big proponent of is the debt snowball method.
Okay.
Have you heard of that one?
I have. It always makes me think about like that snowball effect.
Yeah.
Starting small but gaining momentum as you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of a psychological strategy than anything else.
Okay.
You know, you list out all of your debts, smallest to largest, regardless of their interest rates,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you focus on paying off the smallest one first.
Right, yeah.
Then you take that same payment amount.
Yeah. And you roll it into the next smallest debt and
Mhm.
so on.
Okay.
As you knock out each debt, it creates this psychological win
Right.
that gives you the motivation to keep going.
It's such a good feeling to like literally watch those debts disappear one by one.
It is, yeah, yeah.
But like any popular book, especially in the personal finance space, The
Mhm.
Simple Path to Wealth has faced its share of criticism too, right?
It has.
Yeah.
And it's important to acknowledge that while this book can be a total game changer for a lot of people,
Hmm.
it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It
Right.
definitely has its limitations.
Right. It's a framework, not a rule book.
Exactly.
What are some of those limitations that we should be aware of?
Well, one of the main criticisms is that the book can feel a bit overly simplistic,
Okay.
especially for those with more complex financial situations.
Okay.
If you're dealing with like significant assets, multiple streams of income, or you're thinking about like complex estate planning,
Yeah.
the book's advice might feel a bit too general.
It's like trying to navigate a busy city with only like a hand-drawn map.
Right.
You might get the general lay of the land, but you're
Well-
probably going to miss some of the side streets and the shortcuts.
Exactly. Another critique is that the book kind of assumes a certain level of income stability,
Right.
which, let's be real, isn't always the reality for everyone, especially those just starting out in their careers or facing job insecurity.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
It might be really challenging for someone working a minimum wage job,
Right.
or dealing with like inconsistent income
Mm-hmm.
to implement some of Colin's recommendations,
Right.
like consistently saving a large chunk of their income,
Right.
or investing heavily in the stock market.
Yeah. And you're spot on.
Yeah.
And while Collins does touch on the importance of having an emergency fund,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't really dive deep into the nuances of managing your finances on a tight budget,
Right.
or navigating periods of financial hardship.
So it's not that his advice is wrong.
But-
It's more about understanding that its applicability might vary
Exactly.
depending on your own personal circumstances.
Yes. The Simple Path to Wealth offers a fantastic framework,
Mm-hmm.
a solid foundation for building wealth.
Yeah.
But remember, personal finance is just that, personal.
Right.
It's
Okay.
about finding what works best for you, your unique goals,
Mhm.
and your risk tolerance.
And that's where seeking guidance from a qualified financial advisor
Absolutely.
can be incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
But even before taking that step, I think the key takeaway here is that you don't need to be a financial expert
Right.
to take control of your finances.
We really don't.
Collins really equips you with the tools and the knowledge to get started,
Mhm.
to start thinking about money differently.
He does.
I completely agree. And if you're feeling overwhelmed,
Just remember, Collins breaks down these complex concepts into like manageable steps.
it does.
You know,
Yeah.
start by like identifying your financial goals,
Hmm.
whether it's paying off debt,
Right.
saving for that dream vacation,
Yeah.
or building a comfortable retirement nest egg.
Right. Yeah.
Write it down.
Yeah.
Then create a budget that aligns with your goals, and track your spending.
Yes.
Even those like small steps can make a world of difference.
They really can, and don't be afraid to celebrate those small victories along the way.
Right, absolutely.
Paid off a credit card,
Right.
hit a savings milestone.
Yes.
Those are all reasons to like pat yourself on the back and keep that momentum going.
Keep it going.
Yeah. It's a journey, not a race.
It is.
And speaking of journeys, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought here.
Okay.
While the simple path to wealth focuses heavily on achieving financial freedom, the principles that it outlines can also like profoundly impact your relationship with money
Yes.
on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Right. How so?
You know, when you begin to view money as a tool to build the life that you want, rather than, something to be stressed or anxious about,
Right.
you can shift your entire mindset.
Totally.
You start making like more conscious spending choices,
Right.
prioritizing experiences and investments that align with your values, and ultimately finding like more joy and contentment in your financial life.
That's such a powerful shift. It's not just about the numbers, right?
Right.
It's about the freedom,
Yes.
the flexibility,
Oh,
and the peace of mind that come with having a healthy relationship with your finances.
I completely agree.
This has been such an insightful deep dive into the simple path to wealth.
It has been.
And I have a feeling we'll be revisiting these concepts again in the future.
I'm sure we will.
For those of you listening, I highly encourage you to check out The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins.
Yes, do it.
It's a book that has the potential to completely transform your relationship with money and set you on that path towards lasting financial freedom.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Yeah.